Um, so making another video kind of about what's going on right now. Um, I finished class today and, going through this whole material. Tomorrow is the last day I can take an exam test. It's a 33 question test and I have to do it online. The only thing that's very frustrating about this right now is the school is giving me a lot of problems. Okay, they had the classes on hold. I'm telling you, like, there's like 25 people pointing me in all different directions, and they're all working together to like confuse me. And um, it's very frustrating because I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, and then whenever I take the next step to do what I'm supposed to be doing, something falters because it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with with the actions of someone else. So I apparently my classes are on hold. They don't get paid for and paid for because they're free until they're completed. But I have to be registered for classes to get email to my courses to take the exam. But my classes are on hold, so I'm officially not even registered for class. So why would this person tell me to go ahead and just start class, and give me that information knowing that I'm going to be taking exams? Because it wasn't just the school, it was the Brenda Chance, who was the Allied Health Coordinator for the program. This person should not only has already told me to be one day class short and one day class short, but now because the classes are on hold and I can't even access my exam and the due date's tomorrow. So to my understanding, I could have taken the test this weekend, but I'm waiting until the day that I said it, because they first told me, said the test is on Tuesday, not the last day is on Tuesday, because they're doing the same thing to me while I'm in class. They're telling me this, they're telling me that, telling me this, and it's just jading me. So they're doing this because you don't understand how, they're doing everything so that I do not like going to school. I get filed and worn down not to go to school, not want to go to school, have no desire, had no passion to go to school. You're going to be a DJ, and we're going to put you for Barack Obama in the United States and George Bush, and that's what you're going to do for Patricia Godina, the gay and transgender movement, and all the gays. It's so prejudiced and racist. It's such a broad term that all I can do right now, and the way that I'm looking at things, is I can just only do what I can do, and pray to God that it gets dealt with in whatever way that it is. But I can only do what I can. If somebody's going to do this to me, I don't have access to their computer. That's them. It's somebody behind the desk that's saying, I don't like you, I'm going to sabotage you, you can't go to school. I can never express. You don't understand how detailed and how motivated these transgenders are, and how a lot of the homosexuals, they know all about Frankie. They know all the details about my mother. They know stuff about me. Very detailed. So a lot of the things become so calculated that even though I'm paying attention to class, I'm observing a whole lot of information that really has nothing to do with the class. It has to do with something else. It has to do something with, the motivational political movement of what my personal life should be when it comes to career choices. Because guess what? President Barack Obama, George Bush, Patricia Godina for the gay and transgender movement. This is from top to bottom. And one of the things that really bothered me about this as well, since I have been talking to my mother for now, I think like the last 10 months that I have been since my apartment, and even before then, my mother is being trained from the tip of her toes to the top of her head that I'm going to continue DJing, I'm going to accept whatever they tell me. The President of the United States is directly ordering this. My life is going to be nothing more than a tragedy if I don't. I can tell from my impressions when I'm speaking to my mother, she's confined to that and she's being manipulated. And they want to use her to because she's my mother and my mother's twin, and they'll direct that at me so it becomes very personal. And they're trying to clean up Kenneth because everything that she's scraping against the ground, you know, about all the shit that's going on, is about helping and supporting Kenneth because of what he did. He was talking mad mouth shit about my dead sister. There was a lot of other shit that I have yet to even explain what was going on. You know, it's a very broad. Like I could talk about, you know, what that girl happened to be upstairs when that incident happened when I was living in my apartment at Green Trees when Kenneth showed up on my doorstep and blocked the railroad, or blocked the stairs for me to go up, you know, because someone had contacted him and saying, don't touch that white girl, blonde girl. And so that's whenever that other guy showed up and, you know, she was being anally raped. I could hear her screaming and crying. And it was like a full-blown nasty cry. And there was gays standing outside. These were gay guys. And because the girls was racist and white, since she got pregnant by a white guy, the faggots, the gays, were like, yeah, you got her ass. And little did they know that she had her ass raped open. And I could hear her cry. And it was because Kenneth said, yeah, not saying that she wanted, but nobody understood that she stood up on the stairs waiting for me. And she put that guy in check that she was living with. And so there's a lot of intense, crazy shit that led her for that to happen to her. And that guy just showed up and got her pregnant, and then the next minute she's out of town. She literally moves out. So there's a lot of broad situations, and the reason I bring that topic up is also because my mom handed me a screwdriver or a flathead or something, and that's one of the tools the guy was holding. Because the guy knocked on my fucking door, pissed off, thinking that I fucked her, thinking that I had sex with her. And I was the polite, most nicest guy. I was respected, but I didn't know the guy was gay. And so he got pissed off at me. So it took a couple of days for him to figure out I had nothing to do with it. But he still charged right me at my front door because I was Mexican. These are white guys. But remember, Kenneth is claiming to be Mexican, but he's going to make that story if I was there the whole fucking time. So anyway, I say this because there's a huge broad of information that people know. It's very disturbing. Of everything that's going on, I'm also going to not be able to make so many videos about details about other stuff that's going on, of the conditioning process and mental digestion, what they're doing. This, from head to toe, this is all about, I am not going to not want you here. You are not going to be successful. You are going to be conditioned and internally and rewired mentally and emotion so that the ticking bomb puts me, into a DJ career again. And to say, oh, no, that's what you're going to do. No, it's for Kenneth. No, it's not. It's for transgender Patricia. No, it's for dead body. No, your dead sister is the one that... And it's a very continuous, nasty cycle. So the best way that I deal with this is for Jesus to help me go to school and to deal with this. And that's the best way, because there's no way out. I'm telling you, if you were in my position and you would see the unimaginable of punishment, there's some pretty good students. Like there's a black guy that goes in my class, very good guy, positive, pretty solid guy. Mexican guy, seems very smart. Mexican guy right there, looks like he has a lot of experience. Definitely impression that he has the real experience. He has very good experience. But like I said, there's some other situations that I just try to brush off and not worry about, and just stick to the common sense and to the protocols. When I don't feel something is correct, I'm going to go to the resource for a registered nurse and say, look, this person is doing this. Because I told the teacher, there's been a number of things that I kind of question the mental health of this registered nurse. This teacher that is teaching the class, extremely questionable. And when I say extremely questionable, when do you call somebody crazy to say that they're mentally ill, like they do in courtrooms when they do horrific crimes, compared to someone that actually is mentally ill and should not be teaching a class? I'm not the psychologist, so I have to focus on me. I have to focus what's important. I take this information, and it's frustrating because let's just say I'm going to go to this, CNA, and they fix the, whole exam situation, and everything goes through. I have to make sure, because my job is to do my job. I do not want to go into a position where, it's just scattered information, and these are people that are in the last phases of life. I spent 7 years. I saw a lot of shit. People would tell me a lot of shit. I had guys with half a brain crushed. I just speaking of the janitor tell me that there would be occasionally people that would just fall and die. And my dad was the healthiest person in ever. I mean, it's wild because like when I ask questions, it's not that I'm trying to persecute. I need the most identifying information to make sure, like when I share a story about my father having somebody yell at him, I was scared because in order to keep him safe, it was maybe worth him being slapped around in the, in the back of the head and all over his body, or maybe hit a couple times, because they won't kill him. Because guess what? Hector didn't make the report. But guess what? If I did make that report, I'm going to show you who real boss is. I'm going to show you who's going to see what. And so, people don't understand that you always have, this is 25 years ago, but I'm trying to get to this source, not making anything about else, because if I see something with a patient, resident, if I see resident, because resident is a proper name you give to a person because that's their home. They're not in a hospital. That is where they live. That's their home. So you kind of give them more of a home feeling more than a hospital. They're just having their care for, a little bit differently than a hospital. But I have to make sure that, get the information, because I'm just going to report something, like I told them, and I say, look, this book right here, it tells me that you're not going to convince me to tell me that you can just start having sexual interactions with a totally random person, and you're, 74 years old, fondling an 80-year-old that's totally agreeing to it, and you're not going to convince me that. So I'll make a report to the registered nurse, and I want to make sure, because I walk in a room, somebody could be mentally, an elderly person, can be very mentally, something goes wrong and they're eating their feces. I have to make sure, my job is to keep safety and do my job, and that's what my job is. That's where I stay within my guidelines. That's where I stay is my job. And so, to give the best that I can, because these are the last phases. Obviously, it was very different whenever I was younger, so like I said, I'm doing the best I can. I'm right now pretty frustrated because I went to school, I went to school and I told them already, like 2-3 weeks ago, I said like 10 times, I said, look, why do you not allow me, why don't you make this completed so that I can complete this, so that if there's any paperwork missing, anything you need me to do, I have a grace period, I can make sure I can get this taken, it's all done smoothly, you have everything you need, I can complete I need to focus on classes, I do not need to be focused on fixing somebody's registration process of a department I don't even know anything about or work. I don't work for Richland College. I don't work behind the desk. That is the people that are there doing the paperwork behind the desk. That has nothing, that's not me. I should not be calling 15, 20, people so that you can go ahead and do something, about it, because I've already at least emailed you and contacted you at least a few times, and that should have already been, addressed. So tomorrow I'm going to be going to Richland College, take my laptop, probably complete the exam there, and get them to show me how I can register for classes, because I'm registered for classes, but it puts on hold. But you have to have an email address to access your courses. But I'm on hold, so technically I'm not registered. But then they told me over here that the classes are for free. They just have to complete them before they get paid for, and then it's just you're registered. And I'm like, what are you doing? I have to take an exam. You should already know. If Brenda Chance is telling me I start one day late, you already told me, I could go ahead and start. You should already know that I'm going to take an exam. You're the one that gave me the scrubs. You should already know there's an exam I have to take to access even my courses. Why are you telling me this? I need to be focused on my courses and my education and not have that, at least those problems dealt with. But, the rest of college makes it very difficult as well. So, I'm doing the best I can. I'm pretty tired right now. I got 3 hours of sleep last night. Today was some lessons on how to be taking care of residents, learning about the clitoris, how to properly clean, for individuals swipe for feces, clean towels, to make sure. But in my opinion, it's very jaded, because when I'm walking into a classroom, if you're teaching a class, you want to teach a class, you want to either read through some of the sort of books and go through those sessions and parallelize it in a way that is formatted, easily constructed to an individual to gather this information for an academic test. And you can sort of say your own stories and kind of add your own elements here and there in between everything. But it has to be structurally set so it's comfortable, and when I'm taking sort of practice runs, how to do peri care, which is they call peri care, which is taking care of the genitals, wiping in the groin, turn the individual over using some sanitary wipes, putting on gloves, properly lifting the person up, all these types of things, so that the individual gets taken care of properly. When I'm doing this, it needs to be like it's the real thing, because it's not the real thing, but the closest that we can get it. Not that I'm sitting there and be like, oh, well, during the exam, during this practice one, you're really not going to need this, but when you do the exam, this is what you're going to need. But when you do the real thing, it's going to be different. And I'm like, no, I'm like, you're supposed to use towels, or you're supposed to use these pads? You're supposed to use these pads. You're not leave the towels. You leave the towels there, it's going to cause erosion and discomfort for the patient. Oh no, you're going to use pads, so just use the towels for now. Well, I don't want to be confused by using towels. I want pads, because that's what we're going to be using on a patient. And that seems more medical interpreted to me, that is more fashionably correct, and logically, right? Not fashionably is probably not the best word, but logically, right? But it's a pad that looks blue, it has a little, padding on there, and it soaks in fluid. There's a lot of information that's going on that should not be jaded, so that when I take that test, it kind of puts more of a scramble in what I need to do to pass that test. And that's what I don't like, the sabotaging process. I think that should be a little bit more constructive, a little bit more better. But so that's kind of what's going on right now. Like I said, when somebody asks me something, as far as it goes with the rest of the class and everything, somebody asks me something, I just tell them any information I want, anything I can, because the electronic devices and all the accumulated shit, you'd have to understand how, you'd have to almost, it's wild, because you almost kind of feel in a sense of, it is crazy in itself that I'm having to ignore this. And it's crazy in itself having to ignore this, because I have to take care of my own survival. I need to take care of my own survival, and I must. And when somebody prevents that and uses sort of these threats, you start thinking of, government conspiracy, or, this person may want to do something horrifically and kill me just for the president, and like I'm walking across the street last week, and there's a car that runs completely across the fucking 4 streets and runs right next to me, and I just turned around and barely even had a chance, and this car looked like it was just going to this truck looked like it was just going to plow right through me and run over me. And it kept on going. It didn't have disregard, and I was like, holy shit, And then a second thought, I was like, well, maybe they just did that to kind of ward off everybody. I'm not sure, psychology, but I'm mentally to focus what I'm supposed to do, what I'm supposed to do, what I'm educated to do, what I'm trying the best to learn, because I need to retain as much information as I can to do the best I can on the academic test. Because even when you pass a test, when you get to clinicals and you get to the actual job site, you're gonna probably forget a few things, and you have to be able to refresh and know exactly what I'm going to be doing. And I have to ask. I'm asking questions in class. I'm making sure. Because when I ask questions to students, they have to be as clear as they possibly can. Like whenever I say, hey, you know what, this is how I look at it. If I'm doing 3 wipes, if I'm doing a wipe here, 1 wipe in each butt cheek and 1 from the, from the bottom toward the head, from the anal cavity to do a pericare, I have to make sure, in my opinion, I'm thinking bacteria, feces. You're not going to be able to wipe everything. My idea of it is, get plenty of wipes, make sure the tush and the rear end is completely clean and has the fluids on there, and to make sure of that, to make sure of those any feces, because if there's feces on the person's rear end and you sit them back down on their own feces, there could be specimens of that feces that beds into their skin, cause infections. I mean, feces is not something you want in an open wound. I'm not sure exactly the biohazard of the genetic mutation, I'm not the germs that can cause that, sicknesses. So, when I say something like that, so I have to ask all these, questions to know that I'm doing the best I can when I approach a situation, and that's kind of how it goes. So nobody's perfect. Obviously it's going to take experience. The CNAs that actually work on this job site, they'll help guide me. The registered nurses that are going to be the brains behind the majority of this and decision power making, they're also going to be. So I need to be as clear as I can, not just for myself, but for the registered nurse. The registered nurse is going to be expecting me to, like this, okay? The other CNAs I'm going to be working with are going to be expecting me to. So the better I am, the more I can catch on quickly, the more I'm able to relax and be able to gather more information that you can only learn on a job site. So then I can get the most amount of knowledge for the experience level, because the more knowledge I have to what I'm supposed to be doing, the more I can kind of be on the safe side of things to know, okay, well, everything is, if something goes wrong, it's in its own natural causes. It's not in any fault of my own due to I left a big mess of something and I turned somebody over, they caught an infection on their skin, and they're in the IC unit for a bacteria infection. So but not just for me, I have to be very careful, make sure I secure everything, germs, all that stuff. I still haven't decided. I'll have to decide whether I'll do a couple classes after, or I'm just going to jump in, work for a couple weeks and then do a CNA travel trip. But other than that, I still plan to go to Jerusalem. I still have to say, I know that it's a little bit off the subject, but I still have to get to Jerusalem. I forgot about that. I have to get to the Holy Land, do a tour there for a little bit, and for my family, for myself, for the Lord, and maybe stop by some of this place, Kolkata, where Mother Teresa worked. But that won't be after. That's kind of ahead of time. I have to focus on my school, the funds that I'll be retrieving, how long, and I have to calculate that. So like I said, the class seems to be, I think these guys seem pretty young too. I think some of them are like 15 years old, like 16. I'm like, they're probably just really, really, really smart. They're very academically inclined, and academically doesn't necessarily mean, the common sense that is required and the experience that you can only get from being older, wisdom to know better. But there's obviously there's all these other problems, but it gets wild. Like, it gets so wild because I have to deal with someone who is no longer alive, to my knowledge, which is Patricia Cadena, and here I am in class opening a clitoris, and there's a transgender in front of me that one that takes sort of offensive or wants to sort of make this a sort of science game, and I'm taking it as beautifully as I can and explaining and doing, and then I'm having someone, I can tell their words are jaded into something else. It's about something else, and sort of, and I can't keep my mind there, so I just keep it, as medically as I can to what the description is when you're doing this, right? Because that's what my job is. I'm not a professional doctor. I'm not a nurse. This is a certified nursing assistant. I assist what the nurse is going to need me to do and ask me to do. So, there's a lot of other things that could have, I sort of, watch my footsteps to everything may be doing when it comes to, oh, my sister passed away many years ago. This is about Kenneth, and this is about helping Kenneth again, and it's tough. The nursing field, the medical field it is very difficult. Okay, I'm not saying this through. I'm not a medical student. I do not have any medical degree. I barely got my GED just 3 months ago. I am a prior cancer patient. My dad's a medical nurse. I spent 7 years, but I can tell you this: it bogs you. It will bog you down. I've seen it happen, like with other nurses. Like you have to deal with a lot, and you have to sort of fixate yourself in order to deal with the things that isn't the fun part of the job. And to me, something that I never wanted to do, and I didn't want to talk about. I do not like flexing casualty when it comes to dealing with that in person, and then going, like when I was younger, and I would, I walk in into a nursing home. There's 4 people, 3 of them with like their mouth open, riddled, looked like they had 4 days to be alive. I mean, we're not moving, and they were just barely kind of moving their eyes, and they're like dying in front of me. Like, right, I'm 15 years old, 16 years old. I can hear the cries. I don't go and work out with Richard. You can ask Richard. You can ask little John, Jack, Kathy, John Basili, who I was around with every day, Anthony Basili, Lucinda. I never, was boxing. Oh, I see death, and you sort of take on that. Oh, kill. Yeah, watch it. It's like you're practicing a form of casualty for an exchange of sort of masculinity, or this sort of toughness of death, and that is to never be exercised in my opinion, ever. That stays there. That is not to be used. I'm not looking. There's some boxing gloves, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to show how tough Richard is. By practicing, and I just dealt with somebody that died here, and I just not to. I don't want to. That's not something that is to be flexed. That is to be sacred and accepted and spiritually, at least to me, and the best of fashion. It can't be perfect, but because I have to deal with that myself as well one day. And that's just the way I go about it. Some people are kind of different about it. Some people just put body bags and they don't care. It's just in a plastic bag you go and they don't care. But I'm scared of God. I'm scared of Jesus. I'm scared of God. Whatever lays to what that is, it does say in the Bible, a wise person fears God. But like I said, I'm doing the best. I had a pretty good day. I'm hoping to get plenty of rest every day. I still have to take the paratransit to get there, the short bus, but I'm having all these. I got to figure out what the destination, the walking distance, and all this other stuff. So I just called them earlier. I'm taking 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours back. I got to fixate my money because I do not like spending money. I'm spending way too much money I don't want to be spending. Like I'm, spending $15 on a meal and $20, and I have to be very eating. Like let me tell you, if there was a Subway at every corner, I would Subway, be very healthy, and I'm good there. And then once a week, eat something, maybe some fish, fried fish, or Popeye's chicken or something. But I have to, be eating to feel great, so that my brain is feeling good, so my body's feeling good. I'm getting the fluids I need. At 42 years old, I do have to make sure my body is getting those fluids. I got a lot of stuff going on. So, yeah, I was thinking of that earlier. It kind of brought a smile to me. I thought, like, maybe I can go to Kolkata. Kolkata is, if that's pronounced correctly, is in India, where Mother Teresa worked, and figure out, what kind of do maybe some charity work there for a little bit. See how that goes. Man, if I get a CNA, but CNAs can only do CNA traveling in the U.S. They don't allow you to do. You can't get a CNA license in a different country. I mean, U.S. and go to a different country, which sounds perfectly fine. But the reason I say that is because the only people that allow you to do that is you can't use it as a certificate to use. But if I go with a church, it's doing what do you call it? Humane or what do they call it? Humanitarian work. So I'll have the knowledge of the proper humanitarian education, so that when I get there, I'll know about the germs and stuff to take care and be sort of around that to do a little bit of humanitarian work, something like that, But like I said. That's kind of what the plan is. But let me tell you something. Every word that I'm saying right now, video, everyone is countering me. You have no idea. I walk over to Pizza Hut and give me a pizza. Somebody said, "Oh, okay, you want some more? Oh, you want some more right here?" There's somebody shows at the bus earlier, and looks all damaged, blonde hair, white guy, looks like he has scraped all of his nose. Scabs all over his nose, right? Just a different guy. I pull out a Gatorade bottle, a replenished, really good vitamin drink. Say, here, hydrate. And I just do something kind of before I leave, before I get to class. I give up my own drink, because I don't even have anything for myself now. But the guy looked homeless and strung out, so he needs to probably hydrate, at least to keep him good and healthy for the day, before he goes off and takes care of himself. But when there's cameras and all this stuff going on, there's a lot of crazy shit. Then I'm waiting on a bus like earlier today, right? And then some guy starts to sort of behave, think he's Frankie. And then he starts you could tell he's kind of acting kind of like crazy. Like kind of ticker crazy, like he's... Because all these homosexuals are balling up this sort of rage inside of them to act cynical crazy, mental crazy. Like, I'm gonna be really fucking crazy with you mentally. And this guy waits until he walks. He goes, all right, let me see. He goes, all right, let me talk to this guy. And so he looks over at me and kind of steps behind me, like, here, let me, tell you where you're gonna go. And so he thinks he's Frankie. He's gonna take on Frankie's pain. And he's doing it for Michael Jackson, and then he's doing it for, claiming to do it for my mother. No, he's doing it for Kenneth. No, he's doing it for Sarah and Kent. But this person doesn't give three flying shit about doesn't even know anything. But it's a profitable gain, how I get affected. So it becomes a very turmoil situation where I have to just sort of block it off and focus on what I need to focus on. It's still painful, when I'm dealing with my brother, because then it makes me think maybe my brother is sick and they haven't telling me anything. Maybe something is wrong, but I can tell you it's real bad shit, man. I'm going to eat at CC's Pizza yesterday as well. All of a sudden, I heard somebody yell out. Some guy yells out in front of me and goes, "Get us some popo. You want to get shitted on?" And so they start acting like they're the protectors of Frankie. There's a group of people sits to my my left, and you could tell they're honorary for Sarah and Ken, and for the supremacy, for the fags, and for the whites. And it's 100%. I get up and we'll get something to eat, then somebody stands very quickly over next to me and starts following me. Because he's Kenneth, the one that Kenneth was guiding me and telling me, no, he's a police officer. But it's a mental conditioning and steps to poison everything. Remember, because a dead, worthless little girl becomes very valuable to then throw that bag of shit at me when it's time for Kenneth. Because it was all your fucking fags that were doing this shit. And that becomes very frustrating, because this is a dead little girl that was she was being extremely abused. And this is my sister, not your fucking profitable money bag. And but I can't say that. Because remember, electronic device, shit yourself. Now I tell you, Barack Obama. You see, you're gonna go DJ. I tell you, Barack Obama, you want to shut your mouth, or I'll get him to beat your ass again. And it gets like that. So it's always like I gotta. Okay, it's yours. You go ahead and keep whatever you want there. You know, and then throw me the funeral casket and the tears whenever for Kenneth, for Barack Obama, and Kenneth for the transgender movement whenever you feel like it. Because that's not going to stop. This is Barack Obama. Remember, you already shitted on me multiple times because you wouldn't help for the movement because the time's gone. Oh no, it's because let me explain fancy words now. So anyway, I have to focus on my school. My sister, I hope from heaven, is proud that I will be able to earn a medical degree at some point and continue the education after, CNA. I hope this helps honor my father and mother, but like I said, I in my opinion, my mother is not in any. The abuse is too severe. She has to protect herself, but when you do that much garbage shit to someone, and what my mother went through and the education that she went through, what they're doing this is they want to put that on her so that she starts to go crazy. And when you start to do that, who's she going to direct it toward? Me. To help Kenneth, to then help benefit Kenneth and benefit the excuses for the president. Because remember, this is political power. Who gets credit for the dead bodies? And this is not a game that I'm trying to play, but this is what they're fetching out because this is very personal to me. This is my sister. She didn't get a proper burial. This is my mother. My father's already deceased many years. We all lose people. But this is for Patricia Gadina and Kenneth. This is for the president and then this and this and this. I can't control whatever horrible things people have done and they get a brand new music career. Go over there. It's all yours. That's yours. It's not mine. I can't do anything about, this guy over here shitting all over my biological father, having my dad's car parked right out in the backyard, and then follow me over at Popeyes using his car as a vehicle, psychological weapon, or him threatening me, whatever body language and techniques that's been going. So I can't do nothing about that. I have to focus on me. I have to focus on my education in the best way that I can. So, I'm excited, to learn more deeper into some of this information, some of this stuff. But, when it becomes very jaded, the conditioning of the mental state that they want to put me is you don't have to put me in a place where I don't have desire at all to want to learn any of this and keep it at a very minimal base because they have to do the profitable gains and equity and shift them over and make excuses and use fancy words to then say, oh, okay, look, you see, now I get it. Well, you're 43 years old. You see how it's profitable. It's because we are going to die soon. Like, it's a very, very, it's tough to deal with, to ignore, especially for someone like me. I was nearly digging into a trash can for food. I was living underneath the bridge for 9 months. For 5-6 months, I was sleeping in freezing temperature. All I began to understand was people were just spitting at me. Here I am being learned to wipe. Somebody shot us in my brain. Here I am being trained to wipe somebody's ass and take care of him, getting dignity. And I was being spit on, and this is all in rise for Kenneth. And they all didn't reverse it. And they all work as a team to say, oh no, it's just, look at Kenneth, he's a man now, he's a real transgender man. It's just, he did it like he's supposed to. You see, this is for, Sarah Cooper in the police department. You see how Barack Obama does it because he just knows how to hit people. Barack Obama, he does a proper killing for the blacks. He knows he does for the United States. Like, they play this slogan shit that's very psychotic. Extremely psychotic, but it doesn't change the fact what the end of the credit and result is, because that's where I'm going to put you, and that's the mental state. But as much as I'm just like ignore it, Lord Jesus, God, help me to not focus on what's important, focus on, God will deal with whatever it is, because as great as He is, and the love that He has shown me, and the opportunities that He has granted me, that He will deal with that type of satanic, evil, devil shit. Just deal with that, and just like that. Do that the best way that I can, and it helps me kind of keep it going in the knowledge, keep it going in the education to pass my classes. Because let me tell you, this is the CNA class. This is the very, very beginning of medical, of all existence of medical careers, work environments, and the lowest amount of easiest location education. I think patient care technician is 9 weeks, so it's a little bit. It's a few more weeks more than the CNA. Medical assisting, which is also supposed to be free, it's 8 months, I think. Phlebotomy, I think that was like 3 months. It's like 12 weeks. So there's a number of things. There's a lot of stuff that's kind of going on. So, I thought it was important for me to go ahead and make this video. I hope to dear God that I'm able to complete this class. I'm able to pass this exam. But I take it as whatever frustration may be thrown, is sort of take it as a little bit of a motivational tool. Because it kind of gives me an edge practice a little bit, because when you're working in the medical field, you're going to have that things happen, and it'll kind of get me prepared a little bit in the state of mind that is going to be best. Nothing's going to be perfect. Let me tell you, it happened not just with people that I saw when I was there, just being a visitor, but it happened directly with my father. I mean, I saw the whole thing, and what it did to my mother can never be replaced. There was a lot of pain and suffering. And that's one of the things that bothers me so much. Is my mother, you're putting so much stress, and you're trying to get her all cookie crazy, so that when you do cookie crazy, you're going to give Barack Obama's going to give a cookie for Michael Jackson, because he's Michael Jackson. He feels emotions for the world better, and he feels emotions for the dead little girl, and he feels emotions for transgender people, for Kenneth, and the entertainment business, and what political power needs for the United States. Remember, dead body Marine got burned alive? That's how he feels emotions and keeps him going. It's hard, because at 67 years old, even though you're propelling yourself forward, they're 10 times billion more smart. They know how discarding that they can use at the very substance of purity, spirituality, purity, and these types of things. You become those worthless scum pieces of shit who just love discarding bodies and make excuses. They just dismember people. They don't care. He's doing this for his daughter, who's is born with a banana dick. Transgender. He feels emotion in the secret life they probably live. And it's just America. It's just a job position. And then I don't care. I just take whatever I want, and I throw that. I feel sorry for emotion for. It comes a very disgusting conversation. I want nothing to do with it. I want nothing to do with that kind of trash shit. I believe in a God. This was done out of hatred by them. This is being done out of hatred by this circumstance. This is not something I want to be a part of. And you're doing this to my mother so that you can see the profitable gain over here, make fancy word excuses later. No. I could have got my GED. Oh, let me explain later. They'll just throw you to the street, sleeping in an alley for 7 or 8 days in 45, 50-degree weather with nothing and no hope. Being 31 years old in downtown Dallas. I'm being thrown nearly butt naked with nothing more than a gurney and a pair of socks in the middle of downtown in Seattle, Washington, when I was 32 years old. And the patient there, the workers there, needed fouled me and just threw my clothes all over the damn ground. Didn't give a shit. And these were professionals. This was 10 years ago. So my focus is the Lord Jesus, God, to help guide me, read the Bible. I don't read the Bible at all, but I watch a lot of videos on YouTube and sort of help guide me there. I'm, sort of dealing with myself and my own illness. Myoplastic anemia, my transplant in itself never left. My transplant stays with me, whether a transplant was fake or not. I lost my hair and I had a blood bone marrow transplant and was taking severe medication. That experience at Zale Lipsy never leaves, and that's, you know, you're always a transplant patient until your whole life. So for me, I still have to deal with that. So anyway, hopefully I didn't waste too much of your time watching this video. God bless. Father, the Mother, Holy Spirit. Lord, let me finish this and help me complete this class to better my life and better the life of this world, and to continue the career path instead of the career path they force and change believe that I should be doing. Okay. So anyway, gotta try the best. Just today's a day. Tomorrow's another day. So hopefully we're gonna have some brilliant days over the next days and courses over this program. And who knows? I wonder what clinicals are going to be like. But gotta get my registration process. We'll see what happens tomorrow at Bristol College.